When I questioned Fidel for the 8th time about his relationship with his female assistant, Fidel coldly pointed at the door and said, "It's exactly what you saw. If you can't take it, you can move out of my place." As soon as he finished speaking, text that only I could see appeared before my eyes. Female lead, don't listen to him. The male lead is just saying that because he's upset you don't trust him. Just tell him you're jealous. And he'll immediately kneel down to explain everything from start to finish. For the first time, I ignored these words and simply looked at Fidel and said, "Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins." I turned and went back to my room to start packing, the words before my eyes trembling even more urgently. "Heroine, don't act impulsively. The male lead is just being stubborn. He actually cares about you deeply, right now." If the female lead just glances back at the male lead, his tears would instantly fall. My hands paused while packing my things. Being with Fidel was my own choice. Back then, Fidel was famously known in our university as the beautiful, strong, yet tragic figure, handsome, from an unfortunate family background, ranked first in his major for 3 consecutive years, and had won national scholarships. The girls who liked him were as numerous as fish in a river. Yet all were driven away by his perpetually cold expression. Only I persisted tirelessly for 3 years, finally plucking this unattainable flower from the high mountain. After we became a couple, even his eternal indifference didn't bother me, because I believed that as long as I loved him enough, there would come a day when the iceberg would melt for me. Later, when I learned that his parents had a troubled marriage and both had affairs when he was just old enough to understand. With reddened eyes, I told him, "No matter what happens, I will always embrace you and never push you away." That night, Fidel was utterly wild with me, and these invisible words appeared only after Fidel proposed to me. They told me Fidel what inexplicable anger was about. They taught me Fidel what to do when he turned red-eyed and told me to leave. They said Fidel, this eternal iceberg, needed a little sun like me to warm him up. At first I believed this was heaven's reward for me, until later. Fidel came home one day with someone else's perfume on him. They said, "He just wants to make you jealous, heroine, just a man's little game." Fidel ignored my messages for the first time, and when I called, he hung up. They said, "Keep calling, heroine. The male lead is secretly thrilled watching your name flash on his screen over and over." Another time, at 2 in the morning, Fidel's phone was off. I searched everywhere he might be in the pouring rain, only to return home and see him being helped out of the car by his assistant. They said, "What's wrong with the male lead? He just wanted desperately to secure this deal and travel the world with the female lead." Finally, today, I couldn't help but ask Fidel again. "Photos of you kissing Angelina were sent to my phone. How do you explain this?" And then, it came to this, me packing my bags here. But actually, this wasn't the first time I'd heard Fidel say something like "get out of my house." After we got married, Fidel's favorite thing to say to me was "get out of my house." He knew perfectly well I had no one to rely on in this unfamiliar city, and that even taking the high-speed train home would take 16 hours. He was fully aware my parents were in poor health, and understood my tendency to share only good news while hiding my troubles. So whenever we argued, he would say this line, and once he uttered these words, no matter how big the issue was, it became my fault. I still remember the first time I heard him say this. I was completely stunned, sitting in the room silently crying. It took him 3 hours to finally come in, kneeling before me with reddened eyes, his voice trembling as he begged for forgiveness. "Ethel, I don't know why, but when I get angry, I remember how my father used to treat my mother like this. To me, this place only feels like home when you're here. I'm sorry, please don't go, don't leave me, okay?" Seeing him looking so fragile, as if he might shatter at the slightest touch, I immediately reconciled with him without hesitation. Then it became an endless cycle. He told me to leave, I hid in the room, he came to apologize, I closed my eyes briefly, and suddenly the door behind me opened. Fidel held the doorknob and said, "Ethel." His words trailed off abruptly when he saw the suitcase placed on the floor. He suddenly looked up at me, then sneered, "Good, you've finally grown a spine this time. Hurry up and pack. Then get out, don't keep me from sleeping." My body stiffened, but I didn't turn around, only quickening my movements. The words before my eyes surfaced once more, "Heroine, if you just turn back to look at him, you'll see his tears are about to fall." The moment the heroine turns around, the male lead will definitely embrace and kiss her. What follows would be too risque for young audiences. I guarantee the male lead's inner voice right now is, "Please, don't go." I stared at those lines of text, feeling as if my breath was being slowly suffocated. From falling in love to marriage, I was pushed away by him time and again, yet I clung to him shamelessly like sticky candy. I lived like this for 7 years. During one of our fights, he sneered at me, "Ethel, do you even know how to write the word self-respect?" He didn't know that loving someone means abandoning self-respect. And now, I can't love anymore. I closed the suitcase, zipped it up, and pulled up the handle. I walked past Fidel, pushed open the door, and strode out. I went downstairs, and those words flashed before my eyes again. It's over. The female lead is really angry this time. If the male lead doesn't comfort her soon, it'll be too late to make up. Why does the male lead just stand on the balcony like a lovesick fool? The female lead is about to leave the neighborhood, just as I couldn't resist the urge to turn back and look. The piercing ringtone of my phone abruptly sounded. Looking at Fidel, my heart trembled, yet my hand honestly pressed the answer button. On the other end of the line, Fidel's voice was icy cold. Do you still want that ornament by the bed? If not, I'm throwing it away. Those words struck my heart, the pain suddenly making it hard to breathe. Fidel was referring to the ceramic doll figurines we made together during our first date. The base of the doll bears the names we carved for each other with our own hands, and the heart enclosing those two names was something he insisted on adding. All these years, no matter how much we fought, he never touched those two dolls. But now, he just coldly says, throw them away if you don't want them. Those words flashed before my eyes again. Female lead. The male lead actually wanted to say, if you're even abandoning these, does it mean you're really going to leave him behind? A conflicted person needs a lover who won't be driven away. The male lead just wanted to confirm you wouldn't leave him. Reading these words, I forced out a trembling voice from my throat. Just throw them away. Fidel didn't even say another word before hanging up the phone. I dragged my suitcase out of the neighborhood and paid a premium to an agent to rent an apartment within 3 hours. By the time I settled everything, it was already past midnight. I lay on the bed in a daze, experiencing the first night in 7 years without Fidel. When I stepped into the office the next day, I was completely disoriented. As I walked to my seat, I saw a cup of Starbucks Americano on the desk. I turned around, about to ask my colleague where the coffee came from. When I saw Fidel and his assistant Angelina walk into the office together, Angelina smiled sweetly. It's my birthday today, and our minister dug into his own pocket to treat everyone to coffee. There'll be desserts this afternoon too. It was her birthday, but Fidel paid. Now, all eyes turned to me in unison. My hand at my side clenched abruptly, nails digging into my palm. Then, I picked up my coffee and, under Angelina's astonished gaze, raised it toward her from afar. Angelina. Happy birthday. Angelina was left speechless. Fidel turned to look at me and suddenly spoke up. Miss Ethel, you were late today. Pay attention to your work performance. Don't slack off just because it's menial tasks. At this, the gazes directed at me instantly shifted. They were laced with pity mixed with mockery. Under this shower of stares, I couldn't help but feel embarrassed. But what chilled me more was the coldness in my heart. I forced myself to look directly at Fidel and said, I've already requested leave from my supervisor last night. There's no need for Mr. Fidel to concern himself. Fidel pressed his thin lips together, gave me a deep look, then turned and left. As soon as he was gone, a female colleague who'd always been at odds with me spoke up. Ethel, so all that happiness you post about on social media is just an act. Your husband doesn't even have you in his sights. But then again, with his annual salary in the millions now, a mere errand runner like you is indeed reaching above your station. She picked up her coffee with smug satisfaction and walked out, passing by me without bothering to conceal a derisive snort. I lowered my gaze to the Americano on the table when something suddenly occurred to me. When I first joined the company, Fidel and I both worked in technical positions, but the company has a clear rule: employees in the same department are not allowed to date, to avoid suspicion. And thinking that someone had to take care of the household, I voluntarily transferred to the administrative department. After successfully changing positions, I left work on time every day and kept the house in perfect order. But now, in Fidel's words, I'm just a handyman. I remained silent, yet words flashed before my eyes once more. Female lead, don't listen to the gossip. The male lead only treated the whole company to coffee so he could have a legitimate reason to visit the admin department and see you. It's true, when the female assistant mentioned your birthday, the male lead's eyes lit up. Female lead, you have to believe me. I believed these words were true. Although Fidel could have come to the administration department openly and honorably, he went out of his way to meet me in the most embarrassing way possible. Yet that suffocating feeling in my heart simply wouldn't dissipate. The entire morning, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't focus my mind. It wasn't until noon when my supervisor, Sister Lucy, summoned me to her office. As soon as I entered the office, she pushed a document in front of me. The German branch has lost key technical staff who took employees with them. Compile this year's performance metrics and select someone to take charge over there. My heart stirred, and a thought rushed to mind. The words spilled out before I could stop them. Director, I was originally in a technical role. I volunteer to transfer abroad. The moment these words left my mouth, both Lucy and I froze. Before this, I had never considered the possibility of leaving Fidel on my own initiative, but once this thought took root, it became impossible to suppress. Sister Lucy hesitated before asking me, "Ethel, this transfer requires signing a contract with the company. You won't be able to return to the country for at least 5 years. Shouldn't you discuss this with your Mr. Fidel first?" I shook my head, my determination growing stronger. "Sister Lucy, no need, I can make my own decision. I once gave up my career for my family. Now that I have the chance to start over, I don't want to miss it." As the words left my mouth, Sister Lucy's gaze toward me changed. She studied me for a long moment before finally nodding. "All right, I'll recommend you to the higher-ups. Don't let me down." I nodded vigorously, a sudden surge of excitement rising in my chest. Just as I stepped out of the office, the text before my eyes flickered once again. "No way, the female lead is going abroad." "What about the male lead then?" "Male lead, hurry up and comfort the female lead, or you'll really lose your wife. No matter how long you hug her pillow and stay awake till dawn. It's useless." This time, I didn't pay attention to what they were saying, but eagerly began reviewing the technical materials again. Fortunately, although I've changed positions in the past 2 years, I've maintained the good habit from my student days of periodically reading cutting-edge documents in my field. I spent the entire day recharging until my friend Janet sent me a message. "Ethel, it's my birthday today. Can you come?" I immediately remembered and quickly replied, "Yes, after work." As I stepped out of the company, I saw Fidel's silver-gray Bentley parked across the street. I couldn't help but stop in my tracks as the text before my eyes began flickering again. "Female lead, the male lead is here to pick you up. Just stare at him for 2 seconds, and he'll obediently come over." "Female lead, don't be angry anymore. He's not worth getting upset over, just a clueless engineering guy." I suddenly stopped in my tracks, only to be jostled from behind. Nearly losing my balance, turning around, I came face to face with Angelina's beaming smile. "Sorry about that, Ms. Ethel. I was in a hurry to celebrate our department head's birthday and didn't see you standing here." I was stunned for a moment. Angelina then added, "By the way, the minister said he's taking me to Juliet Restaurant. I saw you posted dining photos on your Moments. Any recommended dishes?" Hearing this, my mind instantly went blank. Because Juliet Restaurant is where I successfully confessed my feelings to Fidel. I once said to him very seriously, "This is a memorial place that belongs only to the two of us. Even if we break up in the future, you're not allowed to bring anyone else here." And at that time, he answered very seriously, "No one else, only you." The heart was suddenly pierced with a sharp pain, and the ache and chill spread outward from that wound. I hadn't yet recovered from Angelina's words when Fidel came charging over, but he didn't spare me half a glance. His dark eyes reflecting only Angelina as he anxiously asked, "What's going on? Are you hurt anywhere?" What's laughable is that I had clearly decided to go abroad and leave Fidel, yet this scene still made my useless nose sting with unshed tears. Unable to bear the ambiguous tension between them any longer, I took half a step back, turned around, and walked away. Meanwhile, the text before my eyes trembled violently. "Female lead, don't be angered by the male lead's push-and-pull tactics. When he saw you get hit, he rushed over without even caring about the red light. Why won't the male lead just speak up when he clearly wants to comfort her? Can't he see the female lead is angry? How could he care about others first?" My footsteps grew quicker, the words before my eyes increasingly blurred. Only after turning the corner and losing sight of those two did I finally lean against the wall to stop, roughly rubbing away my hazy tears. Then I cursed myself fiercely. "Ethel, you're so pathetic." After calming my emotions, I hailed a taxi and hurried to the address Janet had sent me. When I pushed open the private room door, my 3 friends were sitting there chatting animatedly. Gloria spoke with concern. "Do you think Ethel will really come at this hour? She's usually at home cooking for her man." "Right," Hillary snorted lightly. "The last time we spoke was 2 months ago when she called me asking about a men's aromatherapy product. Definitely wanted to buy it for Fidel." Janet propped her chin on her hand and sighed. "I really wish Ethel could come. She missed my last birthday, and this time I even ordered her favorite strawberry cake." Hearing this, my nose suddenly tingled with sadness. These were my 3 closest friends. We used to talk about everything under the sun, sharing every thought. Whenever anyone faced difficulties, the other 3 would immediately rush to their support. I don't know when it started, but my social circle and life began revolving around Fidel. It's as if overnight, the center of my life became solely Fidel. For Fidel, I cancelled girls' nights out, turned down all-night KTV sessions to comfort heartbroken friends, skipped promised annual trips. I took a deep breath, suppressing the stinging in my eyes. forced a smile as I pushed open the door, and presented the gift I'd prepared long in advance. "Sorry I'm late, Janet, happy birthday." The three of them were overjoyed to see me. Janet waved at me. "Come over quickly, we've been waiting for you. You must be tired after a day's work. We ordered lots of your favorite dishes." I moved closer, and amidst the laughter and banter, it felt like I had returned to those carefree days of the past. When it was time to cut the cake, Janet glanced at me and suddenly pulled me to the center. She looked at me earnestly and said, "Ethel, I'm giving my wish to you. I hope you'll always be happy from now on." I froze for a moment, but when I met her worried yet encouraging gaze, tears welled up suddenly in my eyes. "Ethel, look, even without love, you still have the most precious friendship." I suppressed the burning in my eyes, closed them, and clasped my hands together to make a wish. "Ethel, may the coming years be extraordinary, and may you live for yourself 1,000 times over. This evening has been the happiest time I've had in years. I don't have to worry about missing Fidel's messages. I don't have to consider Fidel's cleanliness obsession when having a cream fight with friends. I can drink recklessly, grab the microphone and loudly sing slurred songs to vent my emotions." I collapsed drunk on the couch, and vaguely heard Hillary say, "I'll take her home, you guys go ahead." It suddenly occurred to me that I hadn't told them about my fight with Fidel and that we were already separated, but when I regained consciousness, all I heard was Hillary cursing with Chinese expletives, and she even mentioned Fidel's name. I struggled to open my eyes and saw Fidel standing at the bedroom door in his pajamas, and beside him equally disheveled was Angelina. The hot-tempered Hillary was still cursing. "Fidel, you looked all respectable making those vows at the wedding. And now you pull this shameless stunt. God, you make me sick." Fidel glared coldly at Hillary as if she were some shrew. As for me, I just stared at the scene before me, my mind completely blank. The text before me is going crazy again. What kind of mess is this? I just asked my female assistant to deliver some documents, and now I've been caught red-handed. Even jumping into the Yellow River couldn't wash me clean of this. It's all that female assistant's fault. She insisted there were important documents. What kind of important documents need to be delivered late at night? Poor female lead, just waking up from a drunken stupor to see this scene. Male lead, hurry up and explain. What good is it to just stare at the female lead with your fists clenched so tight? I followed the text and looked at Fidel, only to find him indeed staring at me. Our eyes met, and he was the first to speak. "Ethel, take your lunatic friend and get out of my house. If you want to go crazy, don't do it in my place." A sudden sharp pain pierced through my heart. I forced out the question I most wanted to ask him at that moment. "Fidel, don't you have anything to explain to me?" But Fidel just gave a faint smile, his tone laced with indifference and mockery. "Why should I report to you about what I've done?" A bitterness mingled with pain exploded violently in my chest, my heart feeling as if it were being squeezed. The agony so intense my vision darkened and I couldn't catch my breath. This sensation, mixed with alcohol, suddenly made me feel nauseous. I covered my mouth, stumbled to the trash can, and in the moment I looked down, saw a pile of porcelain shards inside. They were the two dolls from the nightstand. I stared at them, gripping the edge of the trash can so tightly my knuckles turned white, vomiting violently as if trying to expel my very heart. "Ethel," Hillary grew anxious, rushing to my side in quick steps, patting my back repeatedly to soothe me. All the while, Fidel stood at the bedroom doorway without moving an inch. "Fidel," I sensed Hillary was about to lose her temper again and quickly grabbed her hand, but when I looked up, I saw her expression suddenly freeze. Her voice carried a cautious tenderness. "Ethel, don't cry." Dazed, I raised my hand to wipe my face, only to feel my fingertips damp. So, I had been crying all along. The words kept flashing before my eyes. The female lead started vomiting, and the male lead was so frantic he was about to rush over, but his friend just beat him to it. Seeing the female lead in tears, the male lead immediately regretted speaking so harshly. "Female lead, don't be sad about the ceramics in the trash bin." The male lead secretly made new ones to apologize. "That's why he threw these away." I can no longer focus on what they're saying, clutching my friend's hand tightly. I used her strength to stand up and managed to say, "Hillary, let's go." Hillary gritted her teeth, turned back to glare fiercely at Fidel, then firmly grasped my hand as we walked toward the door. Just as we neared the exit, I stopped and turned back to look at Fidel, speaking earnestly. "Fidel, let's find time to get a divorce." As the elevator descended floor by floor, I leaned weakly against Hillary, suddenly remembering many things, all trivial matters from when I was with Fidel. Like how I often forgot my keys, but Fidel disliked digital locks. Once I waited for him in the hallway until midnight without keys, and his first words when he returned were, "See if you'll dare forget things so carelessly next time." Another example, the neighbor downstairs called me saying our water pipe was leaking. I immediately took leave and rushed home, only to find Fidel already there. When I asked why he didn't handle it, he simply said, "These things have always been your responsibility. What does it have to do with me?" Or that time when Fidel was on a business trip, I bought a monstera plant, took a photo to show him, and sent 3 messages in total. He never replied, and when I sent the 4th message, I discovered he'd blocked me. Only after he returned did he tell me, "It was disturbing my meeting. There was no need to send such trivial things. It's nothing, just trivial matters." But when the avalanche occurs, no single snowflake is innocent. Ding, the elevator reached the 1st floor. Hillary cautiously asked me, "Ethel, are you okay?" I jolted awake from my memories and shook my head at her with a smile. Not being trapped by those trivial matters anymore, that should count as a good thing, right? Hillary dropped me off at home and then left. Lying in bed, I thought this night would leave me unsettled, but not long after my head touched the pillow, I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to bright sunshine and went to work as usual, but when I reached the company entrance, I saw Fidel standing at the main gate, and the text before my eyes became lively again. "The male lead has been standing here since before dawn, afraid of missing the female lead. He's finally starting to get it. Last night after the female lead left, the male lead even lost his temper with his female assistant and threatened to transfer her to another position, over there." Fidel strode toward me as soon as he saw me, but first gave me a once-over before frowning. "What are you wearing? Didn't I tell you this kind of outfit doesn't suit you? Go change immediately." I glanced down at the red spaghetti strap dress I was wearing and clenched my hands tighter. I don't want to argue with him, but I can't help speaking up. What I wear is my own business. We're getting divorced. Do you understand? Hearing my words, Fidel knitted his brows even tighter. He seemed to hold back for a moment, but couldn't suppress the impatience in his eyes. "The tech department has been extremely busy lately. I don't have time to keep quarreling with you." The words were dancing before my eyes again. Didn't the male lead come specifically to apologize to the female lead? What's with this attitude of his? Oh dear, he didn't sleep all night, his mind completely consumed by the female lead's expression when she mentioned divorce to him. He's probably not even thinking straight anymore. Everyone's saying Fidel has softened, but through these translucent words, all I can see is his indifferent face, and hearing those icy words from Fidel's mouth, "Fine, if you insist on having your way, there's nothing I can do." I look at Fidel, seeing the determination in his eyes clearly. He was certain I wouldn't leave him, certain my talk of divorce was just an empty threat. Suddenly I lost all desire to continue the conversation. Simply nodding, "I'll draft the divorce agreement as soon as possible." With that, I walked straight into the company building. Entering the administrative office, Sister Lucy approached me holding some documents. "Ethel, it's urgent. They're in desperate need of people over there. The CEO directly approved your transfer application. I've booked you a flight for tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Will that work for you?" I was stunned for a moment, then nodded firmly, yes, clutching that thin document. My mood suddenly brightened. The entire next day, I was swamped with work. First came the handover of work, then I made plans with Hillary and the others to go to a small restaurant near the university. Hearing about my transfer, they were all shocked, but soon after, they all congratulated me one after another. Hillary even slammed the table. "Way to go, Ethel. Not only did you get promoted, but you also ditched that scumbag, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Congratulations." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. After dinner, everyone went their separate ways. As I strolled slowly along the street, a sudden clap of thunder roared in my ears. Before I could find shelter, the rain came pouring down in torrents. By the time I got home, I was completely soaked. I quickly took a hot shower and took 2 cold pills as a precaution, but in the middle of the night, I still developed a fever. In a daze, I gritted my teeth and forced myself up, then took a taxi to the hospital. I was about to be sent on a business trip the next day. I didn't want to reschedule and delay my plans. What if the boss thought I wasn't being proactive enough? At 2 in the morning, I finally arrived outside the emergency room. Pushing the door open in haste, I heard Fidel's familiar voice asking, "Doctor, is my girlfriend all right?" I instinctively turned to look. In the emergency room, Fidel stood by the desk, letting the seated Angelina lean most of her body against him. Fidel spoke anxiously. "It's just her period. How can it hurt this much? Doctor, hurry up and prescribe her some medicine." I stared blankly at the man before me. "Just menstrual cramps, I've had them too." But when I was in pain, Fidel would only ever tell me to drink more hot water. I stared numbly as those words flickered before my eyes. This time I won't speak up for the male lead. The female lead came to the hospital alone with a fever while he was taking care of his female assistant. Didn't the male lead only act so anxious after noticing the female lead arrived? He's just giving her the cold shoulder. I didn't push the door open completely, She simply turned and sat on the waiting chair by the door. The empty emergency room was completely deserted. So silent that even the air seemed frozen. After what felt like an eternity, the door to the emergency room opened. Two figures emerged and then stopped right in front of me. When I looked up, I saw Fidel staring straight at me. Our eyes met briefly before he averted his gaze, supporting Angelina as they walked past me without a sideways glance. The nurse then approached me, pressing the thermometer against my forehead. Beep. After checking the reading, the nurse exclaimed, "Good heavens. You're running a fever of 39.5 degrees Celsius. Are you alright?" I tilted my head back and smiled at her. "I'm feeling pretty good." In the midst of this 39-degree fever, I burned away the last shred of hope I had for this man. After that, I got a fever-reducing shot, took the medicine home, and obediently went to sleep after taking it. Perhaps I'm just tough as nails. The next day, my fever actually broke. Looking at the thermometer, I let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness. I don't have to change my flight ticket. Then, I noticed the missed calls from Fidel on my phone, 17 in total. Suddenly I remembered, when I was truly angry, Fidel would keep calling to apologize. After getting married, I chose to tolerate many things, and he never made so many phone calls again. I smiled, moved my fingers, and blocked his number. The text before my eyes was rapidly flickering. "No, don't do it, female lead. The male lead parked his car downstairs last night and didn't leave until your room light went out. Though it's silent protection, it's too cruel that the female lead remains unaware." I turned a blind eye to these words and went straight to a print shop to print out a divorce agreement. Over these years, Fidel and I had little to divide. The house was his, the salary was mine, making it all quite straightforward. Next came packing my luggage and contacting the landlord to terminate the lease. It turns out that when someone decides to leave, it can be this simple. After sorting everything out, I carried my suitcase downstairs again, planning to find a courier to mail the divorce papers, only to see Fidel waiting downstairs. He leaned against his silver-grey Bentley, a cigarette between his fingers, something unusual for him, looking haggard and pale. When he saw me pulling the suitcase out, his expression froze instantly, and he urgently began to speak. "Where are you going?" I replied vaguely. "The company sent me on a business trip." He seemed to relax slightly, then said casually, "I happen to be passing by. Let me drive you to the airport." I studied him for a few seconds before nodding. As I got in the car, the text before my eyes was frantically jumping. "Won't the male lead ask a couple more questions? The female lead is on an assignment abroad. It's not something she'll be back from in just 2 or 3 days." He clearly saw that the female lead didn't go to work today and came looking for her, yet insists it's just a coincidence. What's the point of being so stubborn? These words were incredibly stirring, but until the car came to a stop, Fidel never spoke another word to me. At the airport, Fidel even accompanied me all the way to the security checkpoint. I was pushing the suitcase forward when suddenly, Fidel called out to stop me. "Ethel, when you come back, let's visit your parents in your hometown together." I turned to look at him. His expression was calm, as if no conflict had ever existed between us. Yes, that's right, every time we had a fight before, we'd always make up within a week at most. He probably thought this time would be no exception, that once I returned from my business trip, our previous confrontations would vanish like smoke in the wind. I watched him quietly as the airport announcement urged passengers to board. "Attention passengers traveling to Berlin, flight DH9755 to Berlin will stop check-in in half an hour." DH9755, the very flight I was about to board. I snapped back to reality, thought for a moment, then took out the file folder containing the divorce papers from my bag and handed it to Fidel. Seeing his puzzled expression as he took it, I smiled lightly and said, "I've already signed it, just send it back to me by email after you sign." With that, I strode toward the security checkpoint. Goodbye, Fidel. This time, what vanished into thin air was our marriage. After passing through security, I strode forward without hesitation. Then suddenly, Fidel's panicked voice rang out behind me. "Divorce papers, Ethel, why are you giving me this?" I turned back to see him being stopped by airport security. His slightly reddened eyes filled with disbelief. I forced a smile and stepped into the cabin, leaving his cries completely behind me. After nearly 13 hours of long-haul flight, I finally arrived in Berlin. After resting for a night at the company-arranged accommodation, I immediately threw myself into work. For 3 whole days, I stayed at the company, losing track of day and night, not even sparing a single second to think about Fidel. When I finally stepped out of the company doors again, the sunlight stung my eyes, giving me a surreal sense of having been away for an eternity. As my eyes adjusted to the light, I saw Fidel standing not far away, staring at me with bloodshot eyes. "Ethel." I looked at Fidel, momentarily stunned. I thought our next meeting would be after I returned to my home country. As I stood frozen, Fidel strode up to me, his voice hoarse from long travel. Why didn't you tell me you were sent to Germany by your company and can't return for 5 years? Are you starting to lie to me too? I couldn't help but frown. Fidel, didn't you see the divorce papers I sent you? Fidel's eyes grew even redder. He suddenly grabbed my hand with urgency. I never agreed, so this divorce won't happen. I've rarely seen such a shameless Fidel, and for a moment I was at a loss for words. The text before my eyes began to dance again. Is this the male lead's way of chasing his wife? Kinda thrilling. The male lead traveled all this way. He definitely didn't come to divorce the female lead, but the male lead's attitude remains just as terrible. The female lead is no longer falling for it. Reading the last line, the corner of my mouth twitched. Right, Fidel, even if he doesn't want to divorce me, his first words upon seeing me were still accusations that I'd deceived him. Over there, Fidel, not getting any response from me, grabbed my hand and tried to pull me forward. Go file a withdrawal request with the company about the overseas assignment. There are so many people in the tech department, why must you insist on being the hero? I paused for a moment, then forcefully shook off his hand. Fidel, this opportunity was something I fought for myself, and now you want me to withdraw just because you say so? Fidel looked at me, his eyes filled with confusion. What on earth are you thinking? Our matter isn't settled yet. Is it fun for you to hide alone in such a faraway place? Fidel actually thought I was avoiding him. A sudden wave of helplessness surged within me, suppressing the anger in my heart. I told him with forced calmness, signing the divorce papers will resolve everything. Fidel stared at me intensely, blood vessels gradually appearing in his eyes. Suddenly, he asked me, Ethel, when we got married, I said there would be no divorce, only death would part us. Do you know how much I value marriage? So you came up with this way to torment me, is that it? Faced with such an obsessive Fidel, I was at a complete loss. Just then, someone tapped me on the shoulder. Ethel, can I give you a ride today? I turned around and saw my colleague Karen smiling at me. I wanted to leave Fidel quickly, and though we weren't very familiar, I still agreed. Only after getting into the company-assigned car did I finally let out a long sigh of relief. I glanced at the rearview mirror. Fidel was still standing there, too far away for me to make out his expression. I averted my gaze and asked Karen, "Where do you live?" Karen grinned mischievously. "Sis, let's go first. You can just drop me off at the intersection ahead." I was somewhat puzzled. She winked at me. "That guy just now was your ex, wasn't he? I could tell you didn't really want to deal with him, so I casually asked for a ride to help you out." Her sincere attitude actually made me somewhat embarrassed, but I still thanked her. "Thank you." Karen waved her hand. "No problem. I can't stand people who won't take no for an answer." I didn't want to discuss my matters with Fidel too much with her, so I dropped her off at the next intersection as she suggested. Before closing the door, I said, "I'll bring you coffee tomorrow morning. Thanks for helping me today." Karen didn't refuse either. Waving at me before leaving, I returned to my place, massaging my slightly throbbing temples, then went to the bathroom to run a bath. The water was halfway filled when my phone rang. I glanced at it and answered. "Mom, what's up, Ethel? Your father and I came to visit your city for vacation. Why is there a strange woman in your and Fidel's home?" My heart tightened as I watched the rising water level. I closed my eyes briefly. "Mom, there's something I haven't told you. I'm planning to divorce Fidel. I've already signed the divorce papers and am still negotiating with him." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone before my mother finally spoke. "Where are you now? Your father and I will come find you." "No need, Mom. I've accepted a company assignment abroad. When I'm done here, I'll explain everything to you clearly. Ever since I graduated from university, my parents rarely interfered with my affairs or forced me to do anything. This time was no different." Hanging up the phone, I took off my clothes and stepped into the bathtub. As the water rose above my chest, I vaguely thought that the woman my mother saw was probably Angelina. Fidel was here saying he didn't want to divorce me, but then he let Angelina move in. A hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes, and I let myself sink a little deeper. New text flashed before my eyes again. The female lead is definitely misunderstanding again. The male lead just asked his female assistant to mail him some daily necessities. Who wouldn't misunderstand in this situation? The female lead is filing for divorce precisely because of that female assistant. Now the female lead's parents will probably be disappointed in the male lead too. I was hoping they could mediate. I closed my eyes, not wanting to receive any more of this information. My parents aren't the old-fashioned type, and there's no way they'd forbid me from getting a divorce. If they knew I was wronged, they'd only tell me to divorce Fidel as soon as possible. That night, I slept very soundly. When I woke up the next day, it was already drizzling outside. As I stepped out with my umbrella, I saw Fidel standing downstairs. The nights in Berlin are cold, I didn't know how long he had been standing there, nor what he wanted, but I felt I had made myself clear yesterday and didn't want to get entangled any further. Just as I was about to walk around him, I heard him call out to me, "Ethel, I didn't sign the divorce papers." He walked up to me, his tone serious. "Either I apply for a transfer here, or you come back with me. Even if I truly made a mistake, you should at least give me a chance to correct it." My throat suddenly tightened. I looked at him and slowly spoke. "Fidel, didn't I give you a chance? Angelina showed up at home that time I asked you to explain. Do you remember what you said? You just threw away those ceramics like that. Did you ever consider how I'd feel?" Fidel frowned. "I've told you many times, our relationship is strictly professional. I did throw away those ceramics. But I made you new ones." He reached out to grab me. "Ethel," I abruptly stepped back, glaring coldly. "Don't touch me." Fidel has strong boundaries, yet allows Angelina to freely come and go from his home. Even now, Fidel has never thought to explain to me what that kissing photo was about. Fidel probably didn't expect me to be so firm, and his expression instantly turned grim. I took half a step back and said bluntly, "I have my own path now, please don't disturb my life anymore." Fidel also grew angry, staring at me coldly. "Ethel, I've already come to apologize to you. What more do you want? As long as I don't sign the divorce papers, we'll still be legally married when you return to the country." I glanced back at him, my voice turning equally cold. "Fidel, how is the way you and your dad are dragging your mom through this non-divorce any different from what you're doing now?" Having been married for years, I knew exactly how to wound him most deeply, by now. Fidel's face could no longer be described merely as unpleasant. I opened the car door and left without looking back, my mood excellent. When I arrived at the company, I saw Karen waiting for me at the entrance. She asked me, "Ethel, that person didn't bother you yesterday, did he?" I looked at her genuinely concerned eyes, and my heart warmed. I handed her the coffee I was holding. "Don't worry, I can handle it." After saying these words, the text flashed before my eyes. "It's over." The female lead is now using the word handle to describe her attitude toward the male lead. It seems she's really given up on him. Poor male lead swallowed his pride yesterday and asked around just to find out where the female lead lives, only to get his heart stabbed first thing in the morning. The male lead knows he made a mistake. The female lead should give him another chance. I ignored them and walked straight into the company. When I saw the person sitting not far from my desk, I couldn't help but freeze. That person looked up at me, revealing two prominent canine teeth, and waved. "Ethel." Surprise, surprise, more like a fright, if you ask me. As the only son of the company's chairman, I don't know why Luke is here. Thinking this, I also asked, "Why aren't you staying in the country? What are you doing here?" Luke replied openly and frankly, "I've finished my master's degree, and my dad wants me to gain some experience abroad. It just so happens there's a problem here. If I handle it well, it'll add a lot to my resume." He said with a smile, "My dad knew you were here, so he felt at ease letting me come." Before I could speak, I heard Karen mutter softly behind me, "So the Crown Prince is here." Luke, I don't know if he heard it or not, but his expression didn't change much. I didn't think much of it and just said, "I remember you majored in finance in college. Analyze the data from the past 3 months first." Luke had none of the bad habits of a rich kid and worked diligently all morning. Karen, on the other hand, gave him a few extra glances. When it was time for lunch, Luke stood in front of me. "Ethel, can I join you for lunch?" I pinched the bridge of my nose. "All right, let's go." Karen immediately stood up. "I'm coming too." The three of us walked out of the company, and just as we were discussing where to go for lunch, we bumped into Fidel, who was carrying a bag. Fidel's face was expressionless as he handed me the bag. "The food here isn't to your taste. I found a Chinese restaurant and ordered you a meal." He glanced at the other two, then pursed his lips. "I didn't know you'd be with them, so I didn't order that much." I didn't take it, simply saying, "Keep it for yourself, I'll go eat with them." Fidel frowned. "Ethel, do you have to do this to me?" Before I could speak, Luke interrupted. "Isn't this Mr. Fidel? I heard that the project you've been following up on recently ran into some trouble. At this critical juncture, instead of staying in the country, you've come here. Isn't that inappropriate?" Fidel recognized him too. His lips pressed into a thin line as he spoke indifferently. "The project won't have problems. What others say isn't necessarily true." He looked at me. "If you're going to eat, I'm coming too." Suddenly, I felt a bit annoyed. "Fidel, let me be clearer. I don't want to eat with you, understand?" Fidel froze, and the words before my eyes began to shake wildly. "Female lead, don't treat the male lead like that. He's just eccentric, but he never had any intention of betraying you. No matter what the female lead does, I'll support her. After all, she has truly suffered grievances." Reading that last line, I suddenly felt a pang of bitterness in my heart. During those years with Fidel, I truly endured hardships, But from now on, never again. Without paying attention to the still dazed Fidel, I drove away with Luke and the others. It wasn't until we arrived at the restaurant that I noticed Luke and Karen staring at me unblinkingly. I instinctively asked, "What's wrong?" Karen, seeing me speak, seemed to have received a pardon and quickly said, "Ethel, you were so cool just now. Dealing with scumbags should be this precise and ruthless." She tactfully didn't ask what happened between me and Fidel, just kept praising how amazing I was. I smiled. "All right, let's order." I didn't think I was amazing at all. If I were truly amazing, I wouldn't have let myself suffer for so long. I didn't notice that Luke had been silent the whole time, just watching me quietly from the side. When we returned to the company after dinner, Fidel was already gone. I had always been obedient to him, so speaking to him so harshly was a first for me. If this is what it takes for him to finally understand that I truly want nothing more to do with him, then I don't mind doing it a few more times. For the next few days, I didn't see Fidel again. Probably went back to his home country. I inexplicably felt a sense of relief. The text before my eyes kept appearing intermittently. The female lead is so serious and charming when she works. I saw that Karen glancing at her several times. Is the female lead going to become a career-oriented strong woman and completely let go of the male lead? Either female lead shine alone, no objections accepted. As for these discussions, I just laugh them off. After a peaceful month like this, I received a message from Angelina, MS, "Ethel, could you please unblock Mr. Fidel? It hurts to see him calling non-stop every night." I lowered my gaze at this message, then promptly added her number to the blacklist as well. Whatever Angelina is planning, or whatever Fidel is doing, has nothing to do with me. But I never expected my peaceful days to end so abruptly with this message from Angelina. Seeing Fidel and Angelina standing before me with their luggage, I found it hard to force a smile. Angelina handed me a document. MS, "Ethel, the company is considering adding another production line in Germany. We're here specifically to assess the situation." I looked at the document bearing the official seal and, without further questions, took them straight to the office. "Mr. Fidel, this office happens to have 2 desks, which should be enough for you and your assistant." Fidel clenched his fist and said in a low voice, "I never said to arrange her in the same office as me." Angelina's face immediately darkened. I smiled and said, "Sorry, there are no other offices available. Back in the country, you shared an office with MS, Angelina. There's no need to make exceptions here." My undisguised mockery made Fidel visibly uncomfortable. I don't know what crossed his mind, but he suddenly looked at me and asked, "So, you've been jealous about this before too?" He was utterly perplexed. "Why didn't you tell me if you were jealous?" I looked at his furrowed brows and suddenly felt a wave of nausea. "Mr. Fidel, we're no longer married. Please mind your words. I don't want to bring up the past anymore. I hope we can just be colleagues from now on." Fidel's gaze darkened. Before he could speak, I turned and walked out of the office without hesitation. Since we both had work to do, Fidel and I didn't have much interaction throughout the day. By the time I finished work, Fidel's office lights were already off. I rubbed my stiff neck, about to head home. As soon as I reached downstairs, I heard a low sob. I instinctively turned toward the source of the sound. It was Angelina and Fidel. Angelina was covered in tears, while Fidel stood there with a deep frown. I was about to leave when I heard Angelina's pleading voice. "Fidel, I'm pregnant with your child. You can't just abandon me." I didn't listen further and quietly left that place. The text before my eyes flickered wildly. What? The male lead got someone else pregnant. Then what about the female lead? It seems the female lead was right not to forgive him. Otherwise, the male lead would definitely continue to cheat. There must be a misunderstanding. The male lead would never betray the female lead. I started the car, not letting these words affect my mood in the slightest. I just thought about Fidel's expression just now. He clearly looked very impatient. Yet he didn't refute Angelina. From what I know of him, Angelina's words are most likely true. I gripped the steering wheel, feeling nothing but absurdity. He put on such a devoted act in front of me, yet had a child with someone else. These thoughts flashed through my mind, leaving no trace behind. I took out my phone and dialed Hillary's number. After a while, the call was answered. "Ethel, what's wrong?" Staring straight ahead, I asked her. "I printed the divorce papers earlier, but Fidel refused to sign." I hadn't even finished speaking when Hillary exploded. "What does he mean? Does he seriously have the nerve to say he doesn't want to divorce you?" I smiled casually. "He probably means that. I want to know how to get this divorce done." Hillary asked directly, "Do you have any evidence of his infidelity?" I thought for a moment and said, "I have a photo of him kissing someone else." Hillary was silent for a moment, then asked, "And, is that all?" I felt a bit awkward. "No, that's it. Does this not prove he cheated?" Hillary took a long while before responding. "Send me the photo first. Let me take a look." "All right, I'm driving right now. I'll send it to you later. When I got back to my place, I immediately sent over the photo I had received back then. Before long, Hillary video called me. Ethel, who sent you this photo? I didn't know what she was trying to do, so I answered honestly. It was Fidel's female assistant. Hillary frowned tightly. This photo is doctored. According to software restoration, they were just standing close to each other. I was stunned. The text before my eyes suddenly became agitated. I knew the male lead would never betray the female lead. It's all that scheming green tea assistant's fault. No wonder the male lead was so furious. He was truly framed. Even if the photos were fake, the assistant is indeed pregnant with the male lead's child now. I quickly asked Hillary, one more thing, today after work. I heard Angelina say she's pregnant with Fidel's child. Hillary's eyes widened instantly, and it took her a long time to blurt out, that bastard, Fidel. Ethel, wait for my news. I'll find someone to investigate that female assistant's medical records. As a lawyer, Hillary had a wide range of connections, so this was no problem for her. After ending the video call, I let out a heavy sigh. I couldn't help but ask myself, if I had known then that the photo was doctored, would I still have stayed with Fidel until today? The answer is, yes. I no longer wanted to endure his indifference, nor could I bear living without a sense of self. Even without Angelina, other things would have revealed our incompatibility. I'm quite content with my life now, and I don't want to go back to the past. I pushed aside the chaotic thoughts in my mind and only then noticed an unfamiliar number had sent a message to my phone. Ethel, let's go to the Brandenburg Gate tonight. Last time you proposed to me, so this time, give me a chance. Okay. I lowered my eyes and smiled. The Brandenburg Gate, that's where I had proposed to Fidel. I flexed my fingers, staring at this message brimming with pleas for reconciliation, and typed out a line, no need. What you should be considering now is Angelina's unborn child and what to do about it. Within an hour of sending this message, my door was knocked upon. I peered through the peephole and sure enough, it was Fidel. His face bore an anxiety I'd never seen before, even with sweat beading on his forehead, but I had no intention of opening the door. Right now, none of his emotions concerned me. I'd silenced my phone in advance. It lay quietly on the bed, flashing repeatedly, but I couldn't be bothered to check. Fidel finally lost his patience and shouted outside the door, Ethel, open the door, let's talk this through properly. I let out a laugh, with a man who was about to become my ex-husband. I really couldn't think of anything we had left to discuss. Fidel's knocking grew heavier and more frantic. Frowning, I picked up my phone, hung up on his call, and dialed the number of the person in charge of the homeowners association. Someone is knocking on my door harassing me. I need security to intervene. The response came quickly, right away. In less than 3 minutes, Fidel was escorted away, and silence returned to the doorway. As for how to face him at the company tomorrow, I doubt he'd confront me in front of the entire branch office staff. After all, his affair with Angelina was a scandal, and if it got out, he wouldn't come out looking good either. At night, the group chat with Hillary and the others kept buzzing non-stop in our 4-person group. Janet, Ethel, what's going on? Are you okay over there? Fidel is sticking to you like a piece of stubborn plaster. Gloria, I happen to have a fieldwork location that's still undecided recently. Do you want me to come to Germany to keep you company? Ethel, Janet, Ethel, don't be sad, it's just a man. During college, Hillary and Gloria, one a lawyer and the other a painter, had already chosen their majors early on. Both of them entered society ahead of schedule, and in the dorm room, Janet was always the one who stayed by my side. She knew best how much I liked Fidel. That's precisely why she fears most that I might not move on. I replied to their messages with a smile, I'm fine, just a worthless ex-husband. At Gloria, no need, I have my own work here, and I'm afraid I wouldn't have much time to spend with you if you came. Seeing that my tone was normal and I could still send memes, they finally felt relieved. After chatting with them, I put down my phone and immediately fell asleep, but unexpectedly, I started dreaming. I dreamed about my university days with Fidel. Back then I was utterly infatuated with him, so much so that even distributing flyers with him under the scorching summer sun felt delightful. By the time we'd handed out all the flyers, I was drenched as if fished out of water. Fidel took the 80 yuan part-time payment from our boss and immediately took me to a bubble tea shop, ordering the most expensive drink on the menu, 32 yuan. I wanted to stop him, but he turned to me with a cold expression. Ethel, I agreed to be with you, not to make you suffer with me. When I woke up, I couldn't help but shake my head as I recalled the dream where we shared a cup of milk tea. Some people and some things are better left in memories. After all, when I think of Fidel now, I can't recall a single good memory, only the dullness I dislike. After arriving at the company, I started working as usual. Before long, a tall figure stood in front of my desk. I looked up and met Fidel's intense gaze, smiling as I asked him, "Mr. Fidel, is there something you need?" Fidel felt the gazes around him and whispered, "Let's talk outside." I didn't move, instead raising my voice, "Mr. Fidel, this isn't appropriate, is it? We're already negotiating divorce proceedings. What do you mean by always coming to see me like this?" The surrounding gazes changed in an instant. Fidel's face darkened immediately. Looking at him like this, I suddenly remembered that day when he helped Angelina celebrate her birthday by sending milk tea to the entire company. I admit, I had ulterior motives. I wanted to get back at him. But when I actually did it, I didn't feel the satisfaction of revenge, only self-loathing. I withdrew my gaze and said calmly, "If you don't want me to say more, leave now." I thought Fidel would know when to quit. At least someone as privileged as him shouldn't be able to endure such humiliation. But I never expected him to suddenly get teary-eyed. With downcast eyes, his voice hoarse, he said, "Ethel, let me explain, please." I couldn't help but pause what I was doing as the text before my eyes flickered. The male lead finally realizes the female lead wasn't just threatening divorce out of spite. He's panicking now, but given how things stand, it's difficult for the female lead to forgive him. It wasn't in vain that the male lead sat alone in his car all night after being kicked out of the apartment building. He finally figured things out. I thought for a moment and said, "I need to work now, we'll talk after I'm off." Fidel's dejected expression instantly lifted as he exhaled in relief. "All right, I'll wait for you outside the company after work." Feeling the curious gazes around me, I paid them no mind. But when I stood up with the documents, I noticed Luke's seat was empty. I asked Karen, "Where is he?" Karen looked up blankly. "What, Luke? He took a personal day today." I nodded. Luke had always been a free spirit, so the fact that he lasted a month at the company already surprised me. He probably couldn't take it anymore and went off somewhere to unwind. When I returned from delivering documents to the finance department, I noticed a missed call on my phone. It was from headquarters. I quickly called back and heard the voice of the CEO's office assistant, "Ms. Ethel, the chairman asked me to make this call. I've already sent his private number to your email. This is a private call, so you can call him back when you have time." I held my phone, feeling a bit lost. The chairman and I had only met a few times at annual meetings, where he presented me with an award for outstanding employee. What matter could be so important that someone at my level would personally call his private number? I couldn't figure it out no matter how hard I thought. But I still took my phone to the corridor and dialed the number from the email. It rang 3 times before being answered, feeling somewhat nervous. I hadn't even spoken when the chairman's deep laughter came through from the other end. "Ethel, right." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Yes, Chairman, what can I do for you?" There was a pause before the voice continued. "I remember you were schoolmates with my good-for-nothing son. We've had some disagreements now. With the mountains high and roads long, I can't get away. He's refusing to go to work these days. Would it be convenient for you to go and persuade him for me?" When I heard what it was about, on the one hand, I marveled at the chairman's concern for Luke, and on the other hand, I found the whole thing absurd. Luke is almost 30 years old. He's having a spat with his family and he wants me to go persuade him. What kind of nonsense is that? But since he was my direct superior, I had no choice but to agree. Just as I finished the call and was about to return to my workstation, the text before my eyes suddenly made me stop in my tracks. "This chairman is acting strange. Yesterday when he was on the phone with Luke, he was all smiles. Luke is so lucky, rich and with a dad who loves him enough to help him pursue the female lead. Male lead, danger." This was the first time I hadn't seen them mention Fidel in these texts, but the information they revealed left me somewhat incredulous. Luke, chasing me, that's simply preposterous. First of all, I'm almost 6 years older than Luke, and we have very little in common. With his family background and status, he could have anyone he wanted. Why would he fall for a divorced woman like me? As for the chairman helping him pursue me, that's even more impossible, at their social level. It's all about arranged marriages between families of equal status for business alliances. That's how it's always written in novels. Countless thoughts flashed through my mind in an instant, but in the end I decided to brush these words aside. Focusing on my work and improving myself is what I should be doing right now. With that thought, I turned and walked back to the office. As soon as I entered, all my colleagues looked at me with smiles. "Ms. Ethel, have you been lucky in love lately? Ethel, come quick, it's so beautiful." Karen stood at my workstation waving at me while stepping aside. Only then did I see an exquisitely wrapped bouquet of sunflowers placed on my desk, vibrant and radiant. I frowned and looked toward Fidel's office. He was the only one here who knew I liked sunflowers. But when I looked over, I saw him staring intently at the bouquet, his eyes practically spitting fire. It wasn't him. I paused, walked over, and saw a card tucked inside the flowers. The flamboyant handwriting on it contained only one line: "Honor today, await tomorrow, celebrate your freedom, signed, Luke." I pulled out the card and casually tucked it into my notebook. Karen looked at me with a smile. Gossiping, Ethel, which handsome guy sent you this? I shot her a look. I don't know. Don't ask so many questions. Get back to work. She stuck out her tongue and obediently returned to her workstation. I moved the flowers aside and sat down to review the forms submitted today. Only occasionally did I glance over, finding the sunflowers bathed in sunlight rather pleasing to the eye. Before long, it was time to clock out. While I was still reporting work to headquarters, nearly everyone around had already left. By the time I ended the video conference with the other side, the office was already empty. No, not entirely. I turned to look at Fidel, who had been smoking by the door the whole time, and frowned. Seeing that I was done, he stubbed out his cigarette and walked over. A strong smell of smoke made me feel quite uncomfortable. He had smoked several cigarettes, his voice now hoarse. "So this is why you came to Germany, to avoid me and be with someone else?" His baseless accusation left me speechless. I replied coldly, "Does a bouquet of flowers prove I'm with someone else? All those intimate moments you shared with Angelina before, can I sue you for bigamy?" Fidel stared at me with a trace of disbelief in his eyes. "When did you become so aggressive?" His accusatory questions were starting to wear on me. I stood up directly, no longer in the mood to continue the conversation. "Fidel, I've been too tolerant with you all these years. Which made you think I'm weak and easy to bully? You should remember. I was the captain of the debate team in college. Also, who I date and where this bouquet came from. I don't owe you any explanation. Let me remind you one last time. I want a divorce." Fidel seemed provoked by something and immediately became agitated. "Why won't you explain? We're not divorced yet." This is clearly cheating. As his righteous words fell, the text before my eyes began to tremble. Has the male lead still not figured out the situation? The female lead doesn't want him anymore. The male lead is just flustered in his panic. That's all. What's wrong with caring too much about the female lead? Up until now, hasn't the male lead even considered properly apologizing to the female lead? I'm getting a bit tired, and even feel like supporting the female lead in accepting a new relationship. This male lead isn't worth keeping anymore. Through these words, I look at Fidel's slightly bloodshot eyes and suddenly recall things from long ago. When he first graduated from college, Fidel was not yet the elite professional earning tens of millions annually. His parents didn't want to take care of him, leaving him with that old apartment before completely withdrawing from his life. But my parents worried about me, exhausting all their connections and resources to support Fidel. Back then, Fidel and I rarely spent time together. Whenever we met, he was either busy with exams or talking about work, and so there appeared around me some people ready to take advantage of the situation. Some of them knew I had a boyfriend, while others didn't. Just as they were pursuing me fervently, Fidel arrived. He waited for me at the school gate, holding sunflowers even larger than today's bouquet. At our first meeting, he said nothing and kissed me directly. He said, "Ethel, wait for me a little longer. I'll rise to a position higher than all of them and give you happiness." Though I never thought of betraying him, his words still made me happy. Later, I waited and waited until he joined the elite ranks, until he stopped coming home at night. I waited for him, got to know Angelina, and had a child with her. Thinking back, it all just seems somewhat ridiculous now. And now here stands Fidel before me, accusing me of infidelity. Even more absurd. I lifted my chin and gazed at him coldly. "Then go ahead and sue me. It'll just speed up our divorce process, anyway. Your house is yours. I don't want it either. A clean break suits me just fine." Fidel's pupils contracted, his chest rising and falling twice as if at a loss for words. Looking at him was like seeing my former self. The same helplessness, the same incredulity, the same heart-wrenching pain. Turns out the saying "what goes around comes around" can actually come true. I smiled, pushed him away, and quickly walked off. When I returned to the apartment, Luke was waiting downstairs. He drove a dark red Maserati sports car, flashing me a radiant smile. "Ethel, do you like the gift I got you today?" I glanced at him and said coolly, "How did you know I like sunflowers? And you took the whole day off just to bring me flowers?" Luke's face immediately fell. He said helplessly, "It's after work hours now. You're no longer my boss. Can't we just interact as friends?" I replied casually, "Even if I'm not your boss, I'm still your senior and elder. Asking a few questions isn't too much." Luke frowned almost imperceptibly. He said, "Calling you senior is fine, but elder is pushing it. You're only 6 years older. How does that make you an elder?" I was about to say more when he raised his hand to stop me. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. The night is beautiful tonight. Would you like to go for a ride with me?" I glanced at the bright stars above and found myself genuinely intrigued. The text before my eyes swayed once more. All right, This is the vibe, this guy really knows his romanticism, isn't this inappropriate? The female lead gets into another man's car before even divorcing the male lead. Considering the male lead already has a child with someone else, I support the female lead. I thought for a moment and said, sure, I'll drive. Luke paused, surprised, not taking my car. I smiled at him, sorry. But I only feel safe when I'm the one holding the steering wheel. In the end, Luke and I drove off from the apartment in 2 separate cars, one following the other. Watching Luke following steadily behind in my rearview mirror, I subconsciously wondered, how should I turn him down? After all, I have little interest in a man 6 years my junior. Moreover, Luke comes from a completely different background than mine, and I have no intention of accommodating or compromising. We were birds destined to fly in different directions from the start. Forcing either to abandon their ways would only breed discomfort. We aimlessly wandered in circles through the streets, until Luke texted me, Ethel, there's a street of pubs ahead. Wanna have some fun? I glanced at the brightly lit street ahead and replied sure. After parking the car, Luke walked over from behind and said to me, Ethel, how's your alcohol tolerance? The beer in Berlin is pretty strong. I thought for a moment, back when I was in the technical department, I had also attended social gatherings. I could down an entire bottle of Baijiu at 40 to 50 proof, so my alcohol tolerance wasn't exactly poor. I nodded at him, and then he chose a bar. After we were seated, he ordered a whole series of drinks and snacks from the digital menu. Ethel, the garlic pear chicken here is quite good. You'll definitely find it delicious. Before I could respond, I heard Fidel's voice beside me. She hates garlic the most. Don't you research people's preferences before inviting them out to eat? I turned my head and saw Fidel standing next to me, his expression dark. I frowned. What are you doing here? Fidel ignored the displeasure in my voice and sat down beside me without hesitation. I actually had some work matters to discuss with you, but when I came looking for you, I saw you leaving, so I just followed. He said this without the slightest hint of embarrassment. Sitting in the same casual manner as he used to when we were dating, his long arm rested on the soft leather sofa behind me, exuding a possessive stance. Once when we went out together, his friend even teased him, she's right under your nose. Are you still afraid Ethel will run away? He said, force of habit. But now, I really dislike this habit of his. I looked at him coolly. Please move your hand away. Fidel stiffened, staring at me without moving. I met his gaze unwaveringly. The determination in my eyes crystal clear. He moved his hand away, placing it on his knee and clenching it tightly. I turned to look at Luke. Order one. Let's try it. Fidel will probably never know that it's not that I dislike garlic, it's just because he once mentioned being allergic to garlic. So I avoided it for a long time, now that I don't have to consider him. Naturally I can try anything. Luke was still hesitating, but upon hearing my words, he casually ordered a portion. He flashed Fidel a challenging grin, his canine teeth looking particularly formidable. I curled my lips and smiled as well. Since Fidel was asking for trouble by butting in, he shouldn't blame me for not sparing his dignity. Just at that moment, Luke chimed in, Mr. Fidel, tonight I'm only treating Ethel. You're paying for yourself. Fidel's hand clenched tighter. Yet somehow he remained seated. I couldn't understand what he was thinking. The text before my eyes wavered. The male lead really doesn't want to give anyone a chance to get close to the female lead. Even after the male lead has humbled himself like this, the female lead still won't forgive him. Female lead, good for you. Pay him back for all the grievances you suffered. Female lead, he didn't care when he was the only one. Now that he's jealous, it's too late. The food and drinks arrived quickly. The woman who brought the wine was Asian. After serving us, she spoke to us in somewhat broken Chinese. Tonight the tavern has various games that couples can participate in, with chances to win big prizes. My interest was piqued, and I asked her, what kind of games are there? Darts, roulette, kings. Luke lit up. Ethel, I know all these games, especially darts. When the time comes, just tell me what prize you want, I'll win it for you. The woman delivering drinks smiled. Have fun, you three. After she left, Luke looked at me eagerly, trying hard to promote himself. Ethel, I think I know this dart game. The man and woman go up together. The man is blindfolded, the woman gives directions, and if you hit the target, you score. Let's go together later, we're sure to win. Fidel chimed in coolly from the side. Mr. Luke seems quite knowledgeable about the world of entertainment. Luke paused, then laughed with unapologetic confidence. Of course, youth should be spent having fun, far better than some old fools who only know how to play with people's feelings. Fidel's gaze instantly turned dangerous, his fingers on his knees clenching until the knuckles turned white. Luke, impatient, I didn't mention any names. Why are you so angry? Luke had the lazy demeanor of a playboy, making Fidel feel like his punches were landing on cotton. I listened to their back and forth without any intention of speaking up. I simply took a sip of wine, leisurely enjoying the cozy atmosphere. Ever since getting together with Fidel, I've rarely participated in social events. I was always at home taking care of him, waiting for him to return, managing household chores, living a life devoid of flavor. Now that I'm finally free, naturally, I want to make up for all the fun I missed before. I looked toward the front of the tavern, where someone had already set up targets and arranged a series of prizes. I glanced over them, pausing for a moment on one of the small dolls. I vaguely remember that this little doll Karen also has on her desk. She would probably like it. I'll take it to the office tomorrow as a surprise for her. I looked at Luke and said, "Okay, let's go play later. I want that red doll." Luke cheerfully agreed and immediately turned to look for the plush toy I mentioned, beside us. Fidel couldn't help but interject, "Since when did you start liking such bizarre-looking things, Ethel? Don't do this just to spite me." I remained silent, but the words before my eyes could no longer contain themselves. Male lead, female lead isn't trying to anger you, she genuinely means it. Can't the male lead consider things from the female lead's perspective? His current behavior is truly ridiculous. Poor male lead. Does he still think the female lead can't let go of him? Remember this, caring signifies affection. The female lead's indifference clearly shows she no longer likes the male lead. I suddenly became curious when I saw the last sentence. These words before my eyes keep flickering, so why can I see them? Moreover, their way of thinking is just like real humans. If they are human, what does that have to do with me? For a moment, I fell into deep thought, automatically ignoring Fidel's profound and obscure gaze. The dart game quickly began. When the enthusiastic host shouted, "Who will be the first brave soul?" Luke stood up without hesitation. "I'll go, Ethel, let's go." I glanced at Fidel beside me and said coolly, "Excuse me." Meanwhile, the boss on stage smiled and said, "Sir, your girlfriend is really beautiful." Fidel suddenly stood up. "Let me interrupt, she's my companion. We're together." Before Luke could react, Fidel walked up to the dartboard and stared straight at me. "Ethel, give me one chance. If I don't win what you want, I won't bother you again." I looked at Fidel in surprise. During all these years I've been with him, he rarely had any recreational activities. As for childish games like darts, he hardly ever touched them. So where does such confidence of his come from? However, his ceasing to bother me was exactly what I needed. I thought for a moment, then looked at Luke. "I'll go with you later. I'm quite interested in the terms he proposed." Luke laughed happily upon hearing this. "Good, I'll wait for him to lose." The way these youngsters were so competitive made me want to laugh. I stood up, walked over to Fidel, and blindfolded him. The boss handed out 3 darts while explaining the rules. "The target will move later. The lady can use any method to indicate the direction. You must hit the target with all 3 darts to choose a prize. If all 3 darts hit the bullseye, you'll win the grand prize, $5,000. I nodded to show I understood the rules. At that moment, the blindfolded Fidel suddenly spoke in a low voice. "Ethel, for you, I won't lose." I felt dazed, remembering there had been such moments before, when he'd also whispered sweet nothings. But times have changed, and hearing such words now leaves me completely unmoved. With the target fixed, I casually said, "Southeast." Fidel suddenly clenched the dart in his hand tightly. A rough direction, he seemed unsure how to pinpoint it. He finally understood why I had come up. I just wanted to make him lose. He gripped the dart tightly, his fingertip accidentally brushing against the sharp tip, drawing a drop of blood. He let out a bitter laugh. "Are you really that unwilling to acknowledge me? Do you really want me to completely disappear from your world? But Ethel, I won't lose." Hearing his words, a strange feeling suddenly welled up in my heart. But the next second, Fidel raised his hand and threw the dart straight at the target. "Hit." I immediately frowned. And the text before my eyes flickered. "No wonder he's the male lead, he's got some skills." For the female lead, he's giving it his all. Great, he seized the 1/3 chance. He can do it the next 2 times as well. Female lead, please stop tormenting him, just give him one more chance. The target moved again. After a moment of silence, I said calmly, "The west." This time it was even more vague. Fidel pursed his thin lips tightly, the corners of his mouth drawn straight. But soon, the dart was thrown again, another hit. This time, not just me, but even the drinking customers below started shouting curses, suspecting foul play. Seeing this, the boss quickly stepped forward. We need to inspect this gentleman's blindfold." I took a step back. "Of course, go ahead." Even I suspected Fidel of cheating, so it's perfectly normal for others to have the same doubts. Soon, the boss personally put a blindfold on Fidel. Perhaps his reputation in this area was excellent, and with that, no one made any more accusations. Everyone was intently watching Fidel, also awaiting my final directional guidance. I glanced at the target standing directly ahead and deliberately called out the opposite direction. "Southwest." Fidel paused. then turned toward the direction I indicated. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The dart slipped from my hand again, flying toward the empty space ahead. Clink! To my utter disbelief, the dart actually hit the wall and bounced off, hitting the target right next to it. The tavern fell silent for a moment, then erupted in thunderous cheers. They no longer doubted Fidel, instead attributing it to mysterious Eastern power. Only Luke shouted loudly, "How the hell is this possible?" The cheers proved everything. Fidel removed the pure black blindfold, his eyes seemingly glowing faintly. "Ethel, even the heavens want us to be together." The cheers from the tavern sent shivers down my spine. I faintly heard someone say, "What a romantic love story." For a moment, I gazed at Fidel, my mind growing strangely unsettled. Meanwhile, the text before my eyes seemed to pulse with life. "This is the male lead for you, even things he's never done. He does so perfectly, come on." It's not like he's never done it. While the female lead was waiting for him at home, he'd taken his assistant out to play multiple times. Don't expect any protagonist halo for the male lead. The female lead am the true main character of this book. Ethel. A violent shaking snapped me out of my daze. I saw Luke gripping my arm tightly, his face full of anxiety. I instinctively asked, "What's wrong?" Luke looked at me nervously. "You suddenly stood here motionless just now. And no matter how I called you, there was no response." "Ethel, are you okay?" I was about to speak when Fidel interrupted, pushing aside Luke's hand with a cold tone. "Luke, she's mine. Watch your behavior." His tone was full of certainty and arrogance, as if he had gained some sort of leverage. Was it because of that gift? I frowned, ignoring his words, and looked at Luke. "I'm done with him. I want that red doll, you help me win it." Luke rubbed his hands eagerly. "Of course." Fidel's face instantly darkened. He looked at me as if I were some heartless betrayer, but I didn't look at him again. The text just now told me that his proficient dart skills were honed through practice with Angelina. How could I possibly want such a person to give me gifts? Amid the boss's laughter, I casually chose the prize Fidel had won. Then I started a new round of games with Luke. Fidel stood gloomily beneath the stage, watching as I repeatedly gave Luke directions, far more accurate than the ones given to him. This made the others look at us with knowing glances. They were probably no strangers to, and even delighted in, the drama of two men vying for one woman. After finishing the game with Luke, I got the red doll as I wished. I smiled and nodded at Luke, saying, "Thanks." Luke glanced at Fidel, then walked off like a triumphant general with his head held high. "Mr. Fidel. Sometimes skill isn't enough, it all comes down to whether someone's willing to give you a chance." Fidel clenched his fist, the chill in his voice enough to freeze a person solid. "Luke, if only your professional skills were as sharp as your tongue." Luke shrugged indifferently. "I don't care. I've got plenty of money to hire professionals like you to work for me." A remark that hit the nail on the head instantly made Fidel's expression turn cold. He couldn't help but look at me, and I met his gaze calmly. "Let's call it a night. I'm going home," Fidel quickly said. "Let me walk you." "No need, I have my own car." Probably the repeated rejections had wounded his pride too deeply. As he spoke through gritted teeth, "Ethel, you just promised me." I raised an eyebrow. "What did I promise?" "You were the one who said you wouldn't bother me if you lost. But I never said I'd accept you if you won either, so whether you disturb me or not doesn't change the fact that I'm rejecting you, does it?" With that, I walked straight toward the tavern door without a moment's hesitation. I slept peacefully through the night. I arrived at the office very early the next day and placed the red plush toy on Karen's desk. I casually snapped a photo and sent it to her. As expected, I received a 60-second voice message from her. It was full of excitement and exhilaration. But her screams were so loud they made me uncomfortable, so I simply stopped listening. When I reached my workstation, I saw a breakfast set on the desk, dumplings and soy milk. The aroma suggested pork with scallion filling. I paused as text began flickering before my eyes. This must have been sent by the male lead. It's exactly what the female lead loves most for breakfast. Yeah, back in their college days, they visited many shops together just for this particular taste. Let me correct that this wasn't bought by the male lead, he made it himself, a taste of hometown breakfast in a foreign land. The male lead is really thoughtful. I stared at the steaming buns for a moment, then pushed them aside. Just as I was about to take out the sandwich I made in the morning from my bag, Fidel walked up to me. He frowned at me. "Eating something so unhealthy in the morning isn't good. It might trigger your stomach problems again." I had already noticed his office door was slightly ajar, so seeing him now wasn't a surprise. Only, I lowered my eyes. "You don't need to go through the trouble of making breakfast for me anymore. I don't like it." Fidel remained silent for a moment before asking me, "Then what do you like to eat? I'll make it for you." I placed the sandwich in my hand on the table and spoke coldly. "No need. What I don't like is anything made by your hands. Does that make it clear enough for you?" Fidel seemed somewhat disheartened, but still said, I know you're still angry right now, but I'll prove through my actions that I truly know I was wrong. Also, Angelina's unborn child, I'll find a way to handle it. In an instant, I lost all appetite for the sandwich. So Fidel has admitted Angelina's unborn child is his. Without my knowledge, what they did together was far more intimate than that kissing photo they sent me. Just thinking about it makes me feel something rising in my throat, utterly disgusting. When that feeling passed, I looked at Fidel, finding his handsome face utterly unfamiliar. Before I could speak, Luke's voice came through. Ethel, come quick. I brought breakfast for you and Karen, Chinese-style morning treats. Other colleagues who had arrived one after another teased him. Luke, why only bring food for the two beauties? What about ours? Luke chuckled with a grin. I'm in the same group as them, you know, if I get transferred to your group later, I'll butter you up too. His cheerful demeanor was utterly disarming. Luke walked over, shouldered past Fidel, and plopped breakfast onto my desk. Here, pork tenderloin wraps and hot milk, one for each of you. I glanced at him, then at Fidel who was staring intently at me. In the end, I took them, though I thought to myself, when I have time, I must make things clear with Luke. It's best if we can just be friends. If not, I'd advise him not to waste his efforts on me. I accepted Luke's breakfast with a smile. Thank you. Fidel stood by watching, his anger seeming to surge to the top of his head, but only for a moment before he suppressed it again. The text before my eyes kept swaying. The male lead is really pitiful, completely crushed by his love rival. This male lead deserves it. Who told him to betray me? Female lead. What a pity. The male lead could have lived happily ever after with the female lead. I watched Fidel's dejected figure walk away without a ripple of emotion in my heart. After some thought, I opened WeChat to message my boss back in China. How long is the inspection period for Fidel and Angelina here? A reply came from the other side shortly after. They were specially dispatched by the technical department, so I can't say for sure about this. Everything will be based on their investigation results. For now, the technical department has authorized me to allocate a month's funding to them. A whole month. I counted the days. It hadn't even been a week since Fidel arrived here. The days ahead are going to be long and tough. I sighed silently and buried myself in work, trying not to think about anything else. But just before lunchtime, Fidel received a call from someone and rushed out in a hurry. I casually glanced and then averted my gaze. But soon, Angelina sent me a message. MS, Ethel. Would you be free to have a casual lunch together at noon? I have something I'd like to discuss with you. I couldn't help but glance toward Fidel's office, where I saw Angelina looking at me with an expectant expression. The look in her eyes was incredibly complex. For some reason, I suddenly felt a pang of pity for her, and replied with a okay. Soon it was break time. I told Karen, who came looking for me, I've got something to do at noon, you go eat with Luke. Seeing me say this, Karen could only respond gloomily before going to find Luke. Luke first glanced at me in surprise, then followed Karen out. Meanwhile, Angelina and I found a relatively quiet restaurant to sit down. After ordering, Angelina seemed somewhat nervous. She clasped her hands together and took a long time before speaking her first words. MS, Ethel, I'm sorry, I'll abort this child. I looked at her. Her youthful, beautiful face bore an uncharacteristic weariness. I couldn't tell if it was the pregnancy hormones, but she even seemed less sharp-featured than before. After some thought, I still said, you can keep this child if you want to. After all, I'm about to divorce Fidel, so you can rise in status through your child. I didn't mean to mock Angelina, but since she's already meddled in my marriage, she might as well achieve her goal. This way Fidel won't have any reason to bother me. How wonderful. As I was thinking this, I heard Angelina let out a bitter laugh. MS, Ethel, I'm afraid your divorce from him probably won't go through. I frowned sharply. What do you mean? Angelina said. He's been consulting lawyers recently to understand whether you can't get divorced if he refuses to agree. He sought out several well-known lawyers, and they all gave the same answer. He can refuse the divorce. That divorce agreement of yours means nothing to him. Moreover, even if the child in my womb could be proven to be his, if you were to sue, the court most likely still wouldn't grant the divorce. I furrowed my brow, unsure why Angelina was telling me all this. But what unsettled me even more was her statement about not being able to get divorced. Am I really doomed to be entangled with Fidel for the rest of my life? I couldn't help but shudder. Angelina looked at me and said again, I'm sorry, MS, Ethel. At first I thought yours was a loveless marriage. Because I truly couldn't see that Mr. Fidel liked you. But these days, I've finally realized that to him, I'm just a disposable tool. A tool specifically used to provoke your concern for him. Angelina smiled bitterly. I know how despicable I am, having interfered in your marriage, Mr. Fidel was the most suitable and capable person I could reach. I thought you didn't love each other, so I wanted to try. to fight for my own future, but now I've lost completely. I'm sincerely apologizing to you." Looking at her face full of sorrow, I suddenly remembered when she first joined the company, so youthful and energetic, full of fighting spirit and enthusiasm, always hovering around the technical staff, eager to learn more. "Angelina, when exactly did she change? Was it the first time you attended an upper-class party with Fidel, or the first time you received an expensive gift from Fidel?" "I don't know," I said quietly. "You can't win. When you pin your future on another person, you're destined to lose from the start. As for everything you're going through now, I don't sympathize, because you brought it upon yourself. But I also thank you for letting me see Fidel's true colors. Without you, I wouldn't have escaped the quagmire so quickly. What happens next is up to you." I called the waiter to settle the bill first, then got up and left without hesitation. Angelina didn't try to stop me. She sat there, her bangs covering her eyes, making it impossible to discern her emotions. But just before I got in the car, I glanced back and saw her covering her face with both hands, her shoulders trembling slightly. I don't know why, but my mood suddenly feels a bit heavy. Back at the company, as soon as I parked my car, I saw Fidel getting out of his car carrying a thermal lunchbox. Our eyes met. He froze for a moment before a smile flashed across his face. He walked up to me and said gently, "Ethel, this is your favorite Poria Coco's chicken soup. I've been stewing it for a long time." Looking at the insulated lunchbox he handed to me, Angelina's bitter smile suddenly flashed before my eyes. I don't know where the anger came from, but I pushed away his chicken soup and said coldly, "I don't need it, Fidel. You're clearly the one who did wrong. How can you stand here acting like nothing happened? You want my forgiveness, but have you ever thought about Angelina? What gives you the right?" My anger made Fidel startle, and the smile instantly vanished from his face. "Ethel, I was wrong before, but aren't I making it up to you now? Stop bringing up Angelina all the time. Anything about her has nothing to do with you or me. From now on, it's just us." Seeing his somewhat impatient expression, a sudden chill ran through my heart. The text before my eyes flickered once more. The male lead doesn't realize his mistake at all. He thinks the female lead will forgive him as long as he comes back. He can cheat without consequences. But when the female lead just accepts a bouquet from someone else, he throws a fit. What kind of logic is that? Am I the only one who thinks Angelina is pitiful? She got nothing out of this and ruined her health. The last sentence made me tremble uncontrollably, whether it's me or Angelina. The harm we suffered was all brought by Fidel. If he truly cared about me, there wouldn't have been affairs and cold wars. If he really liked Angelina, he should take responsibility for her. But now, he neither sincerely apologizes to me nor respects Angelina as a person. What gives him the right to shamelessly drift between two women? Who does he think he is? Fidel, seeing my silence, shoved the chicken soup into my hands while saying, "Be good and drink it." The next moment, I clenched that thermos tightly and hurled it violently into the distance. Clang! The metal box hit the ground with a sharp sound, spilling the chicken soup inside all over the floor. I stared coldly at Fidel, whose face had turned pale. "How much for the soup and the box?" "I'll transfer the money, just stop disgusting me." Fidel's cold face faintly flushed red, likely from anger. He clenched his fists tightly, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. "Ethel, you're insulting me." I stared at him coldly. "Aren't you insulting me just the same? Otherwise, why would you keep pestering me repeatedly, thinking I'd forgive your betrayal?" Fidel choked up. Seeing me about to leave, he quickly stepped in front of me, his eyes finally showing a hint of surrender. "Ethel, I admit I was wrong. Please believe me. I can't live without you. I promise, nothing like this will ever happen again." The words danced before my eyes. The male lead finally decides to confess his feelings. Too bad it's after the female lead has completely fallen out of love with him. I'd been waiting for those words for so long, but when he actually said them, I didn't feel happy at all. I, the female lead, am thriving on my own, no need for the male lead anymore. Ignoring Fidel, I stepped past him and left. Back in the office, the stifling anger in my heart hadn't dissipated when I was met with Luke's smiling face. "Ethel, I brought you some rice balls. Try them, they're quite good." I glanced at him casually and said indifferently, I just happened to skip lunch. How much do I owe you?" Luke smiled. "What's between us? Money doesn't even come into it." I didn't speak, just watched him quietly. Luke must have sensed something was off. His smile faded slightly, but he held his ground. "Ethel, it's really not much money." I nodded, turned back to sit down, and pushed the rice ball aside. Luke wanted to say something, but I was already focused on the computer, so he could only return to his workstation sullenly. Until the end of the workday, that rice ball had gone completely cold, and I hadn't taken a single bite. Having not eaten anything all day, I felt a bit dazed after work. After getting in the car, I quickly took out a candy and put it in my mouth. which did help alleviate some of that dizziness. Suddenly, I remembered how in the past, Fidel, no matter how busy he was, always made sure I had 3 proper meals a day. I shook my head and cursed myself inwardly. I must really be hungry to think of that scumbag. Now, Fidel has long lost any trace of his former halo in my heart. Only the regret of having loved the wrong person remained, along with the disgust of having misplaced my trust. Just as I started the car, Angelina's text message arrived on my phone. MS, Ethel, I've already resigned. Thank you for waking me up. If you ever need my help in the future, I'll be there at your call. Reading this message, I didn't reply, simply placing the phone aside, but the heavy stone in my heart seemed to have lightened considerably. Gripping the steering wheel, I let out a deep sigh and chuckled self-deprecatingly, still too soft-hearted. With that, I started the car and drove back to the apartment. After getting home and cooking dinner, I lay on the sofa. It was already nearly 8 o'clock. Hillary's call came right at that moment. Ethel, it's confirmed Angelina's unborn child really is Fidel's. I listened to her string of angry curses and couldn't help but smile. I know, but Angelina has already decided to abort the baby. Hillary was stunned. Is she crazy? Didn't she want to leverage the child for status? I recounted everything that had happened these past few days. Hillary fell silent too. I asked her uneasily. Angelina said I can't get a divorce unless Fidel agrees. Is that true? Hillary snorted. He wouldn't dare refuse. I have plenty of ways to deal with him. Just the fact that he cheated during the marriage is enough to cost him his job. I have a friend who infiltrated your company's official website. Once the post goes up, Fidel will be panicking for sure. No, you wait, I'm coming to Germany to find you. We must get divorced immediately. Before I could say anything, Hillary hung up the phone. I thought it over carefully. Ever since I gave the divorce papers to Fidel, there's been no follow-up. If he keeps dragging his feet on the divorce, it could definitely cause some problems for me. After some consideration, I requested leave from my supervisor through the company software. Hillary is the impatient type. She'll probably arrive tomorrow, and I'll need to pick her up. After getting my leave approved, I told Hillary to send me the flight details later, then fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, there was already a message from Hillary on my phone, landing at 11 p.m. After some thought, I decided to video call my parents. They answered almost immediately. The first thing my mom said when she saw me was, "You've lost weight." My anxious mood dissipated completely with my mother's words. I laughed. I haven't lost weight. In fact, I've gained a little. My mother also laughed. I don't believe that. When you come back, I'll make sure to nourish you properly. Staring at the screen, I finally said what I wanted to say. Mom, my friend is coming today to help me and Fidel get divorced. My mother immediately stopped smiling, while my father remained silently in the background. My heart sank, and I instinctively asked, "Don't you want me to divorce him?" My mother quickly responded, "No, it's just that you're so far away now, we can't help you with the divorce." Suddenly, the tip of my nose tingled with emotion. It's my fault, being this old and still making you worry about me. I took a deep breath. Once I get the divorce settled, I'll come home for a visit when I have time off. Mom nodded repeatedly, and Dad finally spoke. Ethel, if you're treated unfairly over there, you must tell us. If that Fidel brat dares to bully you, I'll storm right into his house. Fidel's place and mine weren't far apart, just about an hour and a half's drive. From dating to marriage, our parents often visited each other, though it was mostly my parents who went to his place more often. Looking back now, they wouldn't have had to make those trips back and forth if it weren't for me. In the past, Fidel always refused to visit my family, using his dislike for social visits as an excuse. Sometimes I'd go along with him, other times I'd go home alone. Later it became an annual tradition for me to go home with him, while my parents would personally visit during holidays just to see me. Thinking of those days, my eyes involuntarily reddened. My mother quickly asked, "Why are you crying?" I quickly held back my tears and whispered, "I was just thinking, I can finally spend a whole new year with you." My mom and dad exchanged a glance and smiled. "Yes, the water we poured out is finally coming back," they said, after ending the video call. I felt completely at ease. Actually, divorcing Fidel would do more good than harm. I leaned back on the sofa watching the outside, as several more lines of text flickered before my eyes. No more drama to watch now. The female lead is completely cutting ties with the male lead. But didn't you say earlier that the female lead would definitely end up with the male lead? Something's off. If that's the case, then this drama would have a terrible ending. What's the point if the female lead doesn't want the male lead anymore? A play, I instinctively spoke. If my life is a play, then who is the director of this show? The text before my eyes suddenly froze. Just as I was puzzled, the next second, the words began to jump wildly. No way. Can the female lead hear me speaking? Is this a bug? Administrator, come out quick. The female lead seems to hear us talking. Female lead, look at me, look at me. I've always supported your divorce from the male lead. As I read these words, a strange thought suddenly surfaced in my mind. Could it be that I can communicate with them? I tried to speak. Who are you? The text before my eyes flickered instantly. The female lead can really hear us speak. Female lead. You must be brave and be yourself. Don't let the plot control you. The female lead should be with the male lead. That's her fate. The male lead is already good enough. The female lead is too ungrateful. Amidst the constantly flickering text, I roughly understood. It turns out these words came from humans in a parallel universe, people just like me. Except in their perception, me, Fidel, and everyone around me are merely characters in a novel, following predetermined plotlines step by step toward an already scripted ending. Take me, for example, I'm supposed to forgive Fidel after his grand romantic redemption, then live happily ever after with him. I couldn't help but frown deeply. Me, forgive Fidel, that's utterly preposterous. Just as I was about to say something more, the text before my eyes suddenly turned into garbled code before vanishing completely. Then, a line resembling a code runtime error prompt appeared before my eyes. Administrator notice. Program encountered a bug. Initiating repairs now. Let this serve as a warning to all viewers. This world is not the novel you imagine it to be, but a reality as genuine as your own. Every character in this book is a flesh and blood being. Ethel is merely the heroine from your perspective. Regardless of her thoughts or actions, you have no right to control them, only she can steer the course of her life. Due to administrator oversight causing a connectivity bug between worlds, compensation is hereby granted to Ethel. Bug fixing in progress. As that string of ellipses gradually faded before my eyes, I could no longer see any text. I tentatively spoke. Is anyone there? I stared intently at the spot where the words had appeared before, but this time, there was nothing there. The words that had always accompanied me were gone. I suddenly felt an emptiness in my heart. I recalled their words, though most spoke in Fidel's favor. There were always a few who considered me. I actually kind of miss them. I sat on the sofa in dismay, taking a long while to regain my composure. If they're gone, then so be it. Their arrival was as inexplicable as their departure was swift. Still, those final words resonated deeply with me. No matter what I think or do, they have no right to control me, only I can steer the course of my own life. With that thought, the heaviness in my heart instantly dissipated. I cleaned the room and set off for the airport by car at 9:30 in the evening. The road was vast, the lights were bright, and as I felt the night breeze blowing in through the window, my mood lifted immensely. While waiting at the airport for Hillary, I suddenly remembered something. What's that about the administrator saying they'd give me a reward? Where is it? Just as I was lost in thought, Hillary's voice came from behind me. Ethel. I turned around and saw her walking toward me, pulling a suitcase. She asked excitedly, "Do you know what happened in the family while I was coming to find you, right now?" I feel annoyed whenever I hear about people or things related to Fidel, and my interest wanes. Hillary continued, Fidel's mom somehow found out about Angelina's pregnancy and got really excited. She called Fidel and insisted on keeping the baby in Angelina's womb at all costs. I heard she tried every trick in the book, crying, making a scene, even threatening suicide. Who knows what Fidel said to finally calm her down? I smiled, given my ex-mother-in-law's domineering personality. What else could Fidel possibly say? He must have agreed to her demands for her to back down. As for Angelina, if she's hoping to leverage the child for status, she'll naturally keep it. But these are none of my business. I took the suitcase from Hillary and said, "Let's go, we're heading back." While Hillary and I were still on our way home, I received a call from Fidel. "Ethel, let's find some time tomorrow to have a good talk." I raised an eyebrow. Was this the so-called reward? This reward, I absolutely love it. After over 20 hours of long-haul flight, Hillary was so exhausted she collapsed into bed right after washing up, though before falling asleep, she still managed to mumble to me, "Wake me up tomorrow morning, I need to face Fidel with you." Watching her drowsy, confused state, a warm feeling flickered through my heart as I nodded in agreement. The night passed without incident. The next day, I called Hillary and we headed to the company. The company had a lounge area, so after informing HR, I let Hillary rest there. As I walked into the office area, I heard Fidel standing in the hallway talking on the phone. "Who else but you would take the initiative to tell my mom about the pregnancy? Angelina, you make me sick. That night it was clearly you who got me drunk. That's why." At this point, he saw me and abruptly stopped speaking. Fidel casually hung up the phone and walked toward me. I spoke indifferently, "It's work hours now. Whatever you have to say, we'll talk at noon." Seeing that I didn't want to engage with him, Fidel had no choice but to swallow his words. But I thought Fidel's mother's domineering attitude must have been hard on him. The dark circles under his eyes told that much. When I returned to my workstation, I saw a bouquet of sunflowers, 3 stems intertwined, radiating a vibrant energy. I glanced at Luke sitting in his seat, just as our eyes met. This time, he smiled at me openly. "Ethel, do you like it?" I looked at him for 2 seconds before nodding. "It's quite nice. If it were given by someone I like, I'd find it even more beautiful." With that single sentence, Luke's smile instantly faded away. Even though he's 6 years younger than me, the rice balls last time and the sunflowers this time should have made my intentions clear enough. I'm not interested in him. A playboy like him, even if he has some affection for me, it's bound to be superficial. I've never believed in love at first sight, and I certainly don't have the energy to jump straight into another relationship right after the last one just ended. Luke stared at me for a long time, so long that I thought his eyes were turning red, before he finally spoke. "I understand, Ethel." After saying this, he turned his head to stare at the screen, and any extra expressions became impossible for me to see. Just as I turned on my computer, I received his message. "Sorry, I hope my presumptuous feelings haven't troubled you." I lowered my gaze and thought for a moment, but ultimately didn't reply with any message. Some things are better left unsaid. Just a hint is enough. No need to spell everything out. The hours crept toward noon. Fidel had long been waiting in the corridor. When I stepped out, he was in the smoking area, a cigarette held deftly between his fingers, smoking with practiced ease. Spotting me, he stubbed out the cigarette and approached. "Let's go." I didn't move, just sent a message to Hillary before saying, "Wait a bit, I'm expecting someone else." Fidel frowned but said nothing until he saw Hillary, and his expression changed. "Ethel, why did you call her here for matters between the two of us?" I spoke calmly. "She's the lawyer handling my divorce case." Fidel was momentarily speechless. After a long pause, he smiled bitterly. "So you never gave up on the idea of divorcing me from the very beginning?" I corrected him. "From the moment I left you that divorce agreement, we drew a full stop between us. It's you who wouldn't let go." My merciless words made Fidel's expression turn ugly as he turned and walked away. Soon, we were seated in a quiet private room of a Chinese restaurant, watching Hillary skillfully produce documents. He couldn't help saying, "No need for that. I agree to the divorce. The house is mine. As compensation, I can give up a larger share of the marital property after the divorce." He looked at me, took a deep breath, and said, "Believe it or not, the child with Angelina was truly an accident. She took advantage when I wasn't paying attention, got me drunk, and it happened when I was completely unconscious." Utter nonsense. I stared at him for a few seconds before speaking calmly. "Fidel, do you know that when someone is truly drunk, they can't physically perform?" Seeing Fidel stunned, I pushed the freshly drafted divorce agreement that Hillary had just prepared right in front of him. "Sign it. From now on, we'll have nothing to do with each other." Fidel remained silent for a long time before finally picking up the pen and signing his name on the document. After he finished signing, I also took up the pen and signed at the very bottom of the document. As I made the final stroke, I heard Fidel say hoarsely, "This is probably the last time our names will be together." I closed the file and simply said, "Stop being so sentimental." Then I stood up and strode out of the restaurant with Hillary. As for having a final farewell meal with Fidel, I really couldn't stomach it. After leaving the restaurant, Hillary said, "I thought this would be a drawn-out battle, but I didn't expect it to end so easily." Holding the divorce agreement, I smiled and said, "Fidel has been dependent on Fidel's mom since childhood. There's no way he wouldn't care about her opinion. Fidel's mom never really liked me, but this time, I genuinely appreciated her for helping me out." Fidel rushed back to the country immediately after signing the divorce agreement. The next day when I went to the office, he was already gone. Counting the days, the 1-month period is almost up. I didn't think much about it, just focused on my own affairs peacefully. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. During these 3 months, Luke seemed to have let go of his feelings for me and started interacting with me normally. Meanwhile, Karen had also found herself a blonde, blue-eyed foreign boyfriend, and they were being all lovey-dovey every day. I also received the divorce papers mailed from back home, and due to my outstanding work performance, I was officially appointed as the general manager of the branch company. My salary is now 4 times what I earned as a technician. I'm quite satisfied with my current life. That day, a PowerPoint presentation suddenly appeared in the company's main group chat at the branch office. The title read, "A few things about executives cheating and being scumbags, curious." I clicked on it right away. It wasn't until I saw the first screenshot of the chat logs that I realized the people involved were actually Fidel and Angelina. For some reason, their explicit chat logs were completely exposed, but my name was replaced with a pseudonym, Even in the records where Fidel told me he was at business dinners while actually accompanying Angelina, my profile picture was also blurred, though no one knew it was me. The branch office staff were aware of my past marital relationship with Fidel. The way they looked at me made me somewhat uncomfortable. Karen suddenly cursed bitterly. "Why are you all staring at our manager? Everyone has a responsibility to condemn scumbags." Their gazes finally withdrew from me. I cast a grateful glance at Karen, though my heart remained utterly unmoved. The company swiftly responded by issuing a notice on their official website, "Terminate Fidel," declaring the company does not tolerate employees who are unfaithful to their partners or possess poor character. This statement actually surprised me somewhat. After all, technical roles like Fidel's are quite rare. I couldn't help but message Luke to ask what was really going on. He replied quickly to clear things up for me. "Fidel came here for an inspection before, right? The higher-ups adopted the results he presented, but the losses were severe, and the board had already developed issues with him because of it. And this PPT was made by Angelina. She said since Fidel made life difficult for her, she would rather perish together than let him off." Considering both factors, the company ultimately decided to fire Fidel, this ticking time bomb. I pursed my lips. What exactly had Fidel done in those 3 months to make Angelina hate him so much? But these thoughts only flashed through my mind briefly, and I didn't dwell on them further. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years passed, and the branch office finally became completely stable. I finally got a vacation to return home. And I couldn't wait to pack my bags and rush back. My parents were already waiting for me at the airport, and our whole family returned home together in high spirits. It was just the last service area when, during a break, I unexpectedly saw Fidel again. Unlike when we parted 2 years ago, this time he looked down and out, even holding a little boy in his arms. Angelina stood nearby, watching him coldly. "Stop looking so pathetic. You're setting a bad example for the child." Fidel held the child and spoke calmly. "Angelina, enough is enough. I don't want to argue with you anymore." Angelina laughed. Yes, you want to give your son a happy childhood, but have you ever considered whether you deserve it? You agreed to marry me only because of this child. Because your mother was pressuring you, wasn't it? Fidel, you're nothing but a spineless coward." I don't know what caused Angelina's sudden change in temperament, nor why Fidel has endured it to this extent. I only know that none of this has anything to do with me. Watching my parents return with hot water and look at me with concern because of this scene, I smiled calmly. "Dad, Mom, what are you standing there for? Let's hurry home." Me and Fidel have long been two parallel lines that never intersect. From now on, I am myself, and I live only for myself. The end.